Well, hello and welcome to Physics Games. Today we're going to be talking about frames and blocks, and here are the standard ones that we have. There are many other hundreds of them available, and some of them are surprising and have great uses. So let's start off with, of course, frame shapes. If you get yourself some wood by chopping down trees or by other methods, then of course you can craft these things, and you have to do this at the start of the game. And when you craft these, they are in your hand. And if you hold down R and hit the shape menu, you will see the basic shapes. In fact, you'll see even more than this, because there are absolutely tons of them. Sometimes if you find that your shapes do disappear in your hand, it means that you've hit the button a second time, and this toggles between, you can see the 17 that we have laid out in front of us, and then the 1,365 that are available. And as we click through these, we can isolate square and round and wedge type. But again, if you double click on any of these, it swaps between the full lots and the basic shapes. So if you ever find them disappearing, just make sure you click again. But let's first at least start off with the mainframe shape. And with this mainframe shape, with an axe, we can right click, and if we have some wood, it will upgrade to wood. We can also craft these things and place them down. If we were to upgrade these and have some cobble in our hand, they would make cobble shapes, and yes, we can craft those too. Upgrading these with concrete makes a beautiful concrete block. Yet again, we can craft them too. And of course, if we have some steel on us, then we can upgrade these to the very hardest of them all. So if we just place down a quick single there, we can see that this one here, if I hit it once, we have 100 overall, and you can't pick it up until it is fully repaired. This one we have 500, so for a little bit more wood, 5 times more kind of strength is very cool. Worth picking up the good old cobble. Again, you get an extra 1,000 there. That's 1,500. 5,000 for concrete, and steel becomes 10,000. So it's worth investing in your buildings as we go. This shape here is the classic shape that we used to have in Alpha 19 and before that. It's still a good shape because, of course, if we upgrade this to any of the levels that we were talking about, then even though it is not the standard, not a block, it still has exactly the same hit points. Every block now has the same hit points, no matter what the size. So, for example, 100 for that, 100 for this, 100 for this. Even the plate here has 100, which is quite lovely. A good old friend of mine is the little ramp, and this little ramp is great for trying to get yourself up on top of buildings or get yourself a little bit higher when you're attacking zombies with a bit of stealth or agility. But the one that I find myself using, if I get those frames out, hold down R and click on shape, is a type of ramp that has a slightly different shape. I don't know why, I just prefer it a little bit. And that is this one here, which is called Ramp Wedge 60 Tip. And I'll put a card up above where I use this in the Dishon Tower in order to stay crouched a lot more and be able to get a slightly different angle when attacking the zombies. I just like being able to come up at the side a little easier without having that jolt as you come up from the edge, and it's just a useful, nice little block. We also have stairs now. There's lots more stairs available in 7 Days to Die. They're worth checking out if you're interested in that, and I want to make a video on how to make spiral staircases. Please mention that one below in the comments. We also have good old ladders I've used in some very cheesy bases, and of course the good old bars. These are fantastic for, you know, being able to shoot through and protect yourself in your horde bases. So there's a whole plethora here of different things, but what unusual different frames can we find here? Well, the list is too extensive, really. Let me get rid of this word ramp here for me to share with you today. There are so many of them. Some interesting ones are where we have different curves and arches. They're very interesting indeed. And this cube corner top round makes an interesting kind of roundish roof when you put all these things together. But when you have all of them up there, it's absolutely worth scrolling right down to the bottom. And when you do get to the bottom, there are a few interesting beasts there, such as the cube, 3 by 3 by 1, and this one is an individual block, yet it is absolutely massive. So let's just nip over here and place it down, and here we have a single frame 3 by 3 by 1, and if I hit it, the whole thing is only worth 100. But what is this good for? Well, I'm sure you can guess, because as we go through this block and we make it strong, it might not be the same as having 9 of these individual things. Yet, if you're trying to cover an entire building very, very quickly, or I've used these building a bridge across the water, these are great blocks to do the job. They still cost the same as you would normally. That's only 1 frame gone out of my hand, yet it has covered a massive difference. So it is useful for filling in the interior of large builds, or basically making humongous walls very quickly. But be aware, if the zombies break through at any point, then of course they end up, you can see here, a bit glitchy with this one, we get a damage all the way over the whole block. But here, as I do it, that is interesting. I never had that before. We just found a glitch. That seems to be going down. No, it's just the way it is. It's rather odd. This one shows damage here, but it doesn't show damage here. It's still worth 5,000. If I hit here, then that has gone down absolutely everywhere. So, a good block for covering vast surfaces. I quite like the look of this block here. This is the, let's have a look right down the bottom here. This is the Metal Trussing 3D. Not quite sure if it's any good really, but we could still fire through that, I'm sure. But it looks quite nice. Something interesting there. Also, we have in our hand various different poles and circles and lots and lots of different things that you can use. You just got to spend the time having a good look at them. One thing I've really enjoyed using are the wedge narrow corners, and these kind of, and the wedge narrow tips, these stack up to make some interesting horde bases. I have a nice horde base I haven't released yet that uses some of these, because the zombies find it very hard to get up the very steep sides. Now, if we wanted to get these stop from rotating all the way around and become very steep sides, we of course need to go into advanced rotation, and this allows that rotation to be made in lots of different directions. So the zombie finds it very hard. You can stack tons of these on top of each other, and it does make an interesting base too. Now, the other thing I want to mention before we finish this short little overview is that when you've created frame shapes, you can also, when you press R, you can click on materials. Let's try this, in fact, with a very, very large one indeed, just so you can see it. Here it is, and you can just tell I've plonked that down, and these haven't become actual coolers at all, but they are an interesting frame shape. And if I go into painting again, we can pick something else up, so I could have a practice target. Why not? We'll shove those down, and then we could try testing out our targets on here. But again, remember, it's still one full frame shape on there, and I haven't had to use any paint in order to do anything with those, which is quite nice. So there's plenty to mess about with and enjoy yourself. You can of course turn things back to simple. The rotation, you can also copy rotation and do some crazy stuff like that. But that is the world of blocks in 7 Days to Die. I would like, if you're interested, and please comment below, I would like to go through each of the different types of things and have a look at them in more detail, because, of course, stairs is certainly one to have a look at, or ladders. There are many different types of things to deal with there. So I hope that was useful for you today. Please have some fun, and if you've got any cool and interesting shapes that you want to mention, then please talk about them in the comments. Hit subscribe and drop us a like if you can. Really help us out, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.